Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting for Wednesday, December 22nd. It is 5 o'clock, so we will begin our meeting and call the meeting to order. And you did receive the agenda. And if we could have somebody approve the agenda, that would be great. A mover, please. Thank you, Leanne. Seconded by Jim. That's wonderful. No declarations of interest this evening on the agenda. Minutes of the previous meeting, which was November 23rd. If I could have somebody move that the Planning Advisory Committee minutes for November 23rd, 2021 be accepted as presented, please. Thank you, Jim. Second by Leanne. Wonderful. And moving on to the agenda items. The first one is Dana's report, and it's report 19-2021 regarding the CIP application for the downtown core at 513 King Street West, better known as Katarina's. Recommendation that the Planning Advisory Committee approve in full the CIP application for 513 King Street West, maximum amount of $5,500. For discussion purposes, if I could have somebody move that, please. Thank you, Leanne. Seconded by Jim. Yes, thank you. And with that, Dana, if you could give us the highlights of that application, that would be great.
Thank you, Chair Jansman. Through you to the rest of the committee. We've received a CIP application for 513 King Street West. So this is for Katarina's Coffee Shop. Members of the committee will likely be familiar with this because you approved funding for this property previously under our signage program. And they have proceeded with installing the new sign, which looks fantastic. And they're moving on to the next phase of some improvements that they're completing on the property, which is the replacing of the stucco on the exterior facade, as well as some chimney repairs. So it's not going to be a huge difference in the look to the facade itself, but it is definitely something structural that is required and is really needed to maintain the beautiful stucco facade that the building currently has. They'll be painting it the exact same color. So as I said, it won't be necessarily a big visible change, but it will definitely be preserving like I said, the beautiful facade of that property and carrying them into the future. So they've applied for funding in the amount of $5,500. That would include $5,000 in matching funding under our facade program. So they would be required to spend a total of $10,000 to receive the $5,000. And then there's $500 in permit fees that we're able to offset the cost of as well. So I've included just a picture of the property with the application that actually does have, it's a current picture, so it does show the new signage that's been installed. And they are planning on a phase 3 aspect of the renovation, which will result in a subsequent CIP application under interior commercial and possibly some accessibility categories down the road. But it's this is a popular destination business, and they're in, of course, the downtown core, and they certainly attract a large number of visitors and local residents. And I would be recommending full support of their application today.
Great. Thank you, Dana, for that report. Any discussions, concerns, questions for Dana regarding that from committee members? Leanne, if you would like to go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is nice to see them come back to the table and still wanting to be renovating and further business. And I did like the aspect that they're going to do a third phase and make it more accessible. So that's important as well. So definitely interested in supporting this application tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Lindsay, just because I'm on my iPad, I'm only able to see 9. So I do believe Mayor Todd did join. So if he ever has questions or whatever, if I miss, just yell at me. Oh, now I can see him. He kicked somebody off the Hollywood Square screen.
Apologies
Thank you.
for coming in a little late. I just had some issues getting my PC started here at Town Hall. I don't know what it was actually. Just something I got to ask Lindsay about in a little bit. But anyhow, we're just on the Katarina's application, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah, just to echo what Councilor Burton said. Fantastic to see such a successful business in the downtown. Been a regular down there the last couple of years now, and it's just a great thriving business, and it's fantastic to see them expanding and moving forward. So this is what we created the CIP for, and it's fantastic to see so many businesses taking advantage of it. And Katarina's has been there all along. So excellent news that we're looking at another expansion down there, and them doing more, even more with the business. So hats off to Katarina's.
Okay, so if there's not any more questions or comments, all in favor? Perfect, thank you. Moving on to 5.2, it's a CIP application report 2020-21 regarding 126 King Street West. Better known as the property guys. So the recommendation is the Planning Advisory Committee approve in full the CIP application for 126 King Street West at a maximum amount of $23,500 for, could I have somebody move that recommendation, please? Thank you, Leanne. Seconded by Brett, thank you. And with that, Dana, I think you're up again. If you would like to just express the highlights, that would be great.
Thank you, Chair Jansman, through you to the committee. So we have an application before you for 126 King Street West. This is another example of a property that's actually received CIP funding under subsequent categories in the past. And they've, to date, they've renovated the first and second stories of the property. So the first story operates as property guys, and the second story operates as an Airbnb, and the owner is continuing the renovation up to the third floor now, and has requested funding support for under the loan category, specifically for the renovations happening on this portion of the property. So the plan is to use the property again for an expanded Airbnb, but not specifically under that brand. It's more going to be a standalone B&B, but a little bit higher end, more of something that's going to cater to, I guess you would say, the sophisticated traveler. So they're really looking to offer a multitude of options to really cater to everyone from the business traveler to someone who's coming in to stay for a few days at a time and is looking for something a little bit more well appointed. And the $3,000 portion is under the commercial category. And this is on the first floor of the property. The owner is proceeding with adding a new office, multi-purpose office space to the rear portion of the property. So it will be used for meetings. He's considering actually renting this out as a shared workspace, again, to really suit the kind of mobile people who are working from home, especially in today's market, that are looking to have a professional workspace and carry out a meeting as required. So it's been an ongoing renovation to this property. I'm sure most of you are quite familiar with the property itself. It's had some iconic businesses in it until property guys took the property over, and as I mentioned, they're carrying on with some significant renovations and have restored the property, and it's great to see this historic property continue to be enhanced and improved. And it's really great to see the third story of the property actually getting to a point of occupancy, because that's one of the, I guess, the biggest, it's a big priority area in the downtown. We have quite a few of these properties that are vacant, the second and third stories, and we're slowly starting to see a resurgence of property owners coming in and renovating these spaces, whether it be for commercial or residential purposes. So really pleased to see this move forward, and hopefully it will encourage some adjacent property owners to do the same. And I think it was really actually vice versa what happened here. I'm sure you're familiar with the renovation happening at the Glitz Spa property that's located immediately beside Property Guys. And they are taking the renovation rate up into the second and third story as well, and bringing new residential tenants into the downtown. And this will be another property that's going to be doing the same. So really excited to see that, and seeing the revitalization happen in the downtown to be a direct benefit to the businesses that choose to locate there.
Thank you, Dana. That's great. Questions for Dana, or comments or concerns? Mayor Todd?
No questions or comments, and certainly no concerns, but on Dana's report. But just as Councilor Burton mentioned on the last application, just want to thank Ben Quenneville for all his great work in the downtown core. His investment is greatly appreciated downtown, and as Ms. Valentine mentioned, we do have a lot of interest down there now in those upper stories that for many years were virtually abandoned by many of the owners in the downtown, with good reason, I would say, with some issues that they'd had with tenants. But we're at the point now where those old apartments that used to be more lower rent, they're becoming renovated into a higher end lofts and so forth. John Harding's done an excellent job on the south side with a couple of units there. And the only thing I just wanted to note, this is something we probably should look at as we review the CIP at a council level to try to spark even more residential development in that downtown to get those units utilized again. As we all know about the housing crisis that we're in across the province now. So the more residential units we can add, the better. And Ben's done an amazing job on that. And if there's anything else we can do to encourage future generations of Ben Quennevilles out there, I think we should take a good look at it as we go into budget and take a good look at CIP and possible expansion. So anyways, again, congratulations to Ben on this, and full support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Burton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It just goes to show that the CIP program is working. People want to invest in our town, and they want to commit to making it better. So definitely, we definitely need more people willing to use a program and able to do the renovations to the buildings that are not being utilized as well. So definitely step in the right direction. Thanks.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice, as Dana alluded to, if we had all those beautiful old buildings being used on the second and third floors, fast forward 10 years, that would be the place to live up there. That would be awesome. Anyway, okay. If there's no more questions or concerns, all in favor? Thank you. Carrie? Moving on to the 5.3. This is PAC Report 21-2021, and it's to do with the site plan control for the south side of Prescott Center Drive. The recommendation reads that the Planning Advisory Committee recommend that Council approve the proposed site plan application SPC 2021-4, subject to the following conditions. 1, the balance of any outstanding taxes, including penalties and interest, shall be paid to the town. 2, that the site plan agreement of the land shall be registered and be submitted to the town. 3, the appropriate screening features be provided where the subject property abuts residential use to the satisfaction of the town. 4, that the applicant provides a photometric plan to demonstrate dark sky compliance and minimize light trespassing to adjacent residential uses to the satisfaction of the town. 5, that the applicant submits a noise impact brief to analyze the impact of the proposed commercial use on the adjacent residential uses and to implement its recommendations to the satisfaction of the town. 6, and final, that the applicant obtain provisional consent approval to several the lands to the general size and extent as shown on the site plan, and that necessary planning approvals be obtained to support the proposed severance. If I could have somebody move that recommendation for discussion. Thank you, Jim. Seconded by Brett. Thank you. Matthew, this report's yours if you would like to go ahead.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So the site plan that you see before you this evening is for the development of the mostly eastern portion of the lot that runs between McDonald's and the houses on Mackenzie and Fischel Drive. So basically the lot in future would be split in half, and with the Dollarama being on that eastern side of the lot. The total size of the Dollarama is approximately 10,473 square feet. It includes 48 parking spaces, 2 of which are barrier-free. It also includes the pathway that would run from the corner of Fischel and Mackenzie and connect it formally to Prescott Center Drive. That would run that length, and also in a case of emergency be able to provide another avenue of access for emergency services. To ensure that there's no vehicular traffic, we would put bollards at both the northern and southern extent of that pathway, and only in the event of there being no other access point to Prescott Center Drive would it be removed and be able to be accessible through there. The proponent has included plantings along both the east and south side of the property against the residential. They have also committed to putting in a sound barrier that would be based on the recommendations of by a professional who completes a noise brief. We would also have that peer reviewed to ensure that we're in agreement with those recommendations. As well, there was the requirement to seek a minor variance. That meeting will occur tomorrow evening, where it will be considered. It is seeking a minor variance where the distance between the residential at the south side of the proposed development requires 18 meters. However, only 13.27 was able to be achieved. And so it's a difference, I believe, of approximately 14 feet that they're seeking that minor variance. Any outcome of that minor variance will obviously have an impact on the site plan, as well as the appeal period through the minor variance will also have an impact on the site plan. Other items that we seek to address, in a previous version, they had a fairly large sidewalk on the south side of the building. We asked that that be addressed, and it's now just a 1.5 meter sidewalk for maintenance purposes only. A stormwater management plan was submitted and peer reviewed by our town engineers to make sure that all of the runoff from the building, as well as the parking lot and the overall property, is able to be managed on the property itself. And there will be a stormwater management infrastructure on the south side of the building, which will end up removing some of the trees there so it can be installed, but then a new set of trees as well as plantings and the sound barrier will be reinstalled or installed on both the south and east side of the property. From there, we dealt with fire prevention, as well as addressing emergency situations. The building itself will be have a loss for words at the moment. It will be sprinklered, and so that was obviously a major concern, as well as the placement of the most closest fire hydrant was addressed as well, and installing a new fire hydrant at the front of the building. So from a fire perspective, all of those were dealt with well by the proponent, and there are no further concerns from the fire department. This particular property is inside the MTO land use permit. From our understanding, they've submitted their application, but I don't believe it's been granted as of yet. Anything from a MTO standpoint usurps or overrides the town planning approvals, and so certainly that will be required before any work can move forward or go ahead. As mentioned earlier, the photometric plan will be submitted at a later date. The traffic impact brief was submitted. The civil drawings were all peer reviewed, and only minor items are left, mostly due to notation and verification of calculations. The same with the same stormwater management report. So certainly we also had this reviewed, the entire application as well as the site plan by WSP, and Angela Zhao, who is one of our the consultants that we work with at WSP, commented and was able to determine that this particular application does follow the official plan, and no additional official plan variances or changes need to be made, and noted the two items that will require, one being the minor variance to reduce the setback to the residential, and then the second one being the size of the lot, which will be dealt with through a future severance process. So that's as the explanation of this particular development, and more than happy to answer any questions there might be.
Okay, thank you so much, Matthew. If I could ask for any questions or comments, Brett?
Thanks very much, Madam Chair. Good report, really lays it all out there, but I mean, it's really going to come down to, from what I can tell, I mean, there's going to be three main concerns with residential there: distance, and there is going to be hopefully there'll be a small tweak there allowed, but we'll know more about that when we have that meeting, or when they have that meeting of the committee tomorrow night. But the other two issues I'm a little more concerned in: light. That should be covered by the photometric study, but I am concerned about light in that whole area, and I'll just raise it here. And it's actually something that maybe we need to talk about internally. Is Canadian Tire back there has for quite a while now been shutting all their lights off, and we have no traffic. We have no street lights in that area. So when you drive in, and once you get past the McDonald's, you hit a wall of black. And at this time of year, if they close at 6 o'clock or so and the lights are out completely, say by 7, you've got the traffic would be going into both the Dollarama and now into the grocery store through that zone of darkness. So I think we either need to have a dialogue with Canadian Tire or look at installing proper street lights along Prescott Center as we head in. So that's just the one comment about the lighting there. That's just been an issue for a while. That's something we need to look at, but I think that can be addressed. It's the noise that I'm probably most sensitive to here, because that's the ongoing concern that we've had for a while now. We had the issue with the trucks, and we all well remember the livestock trucks that were parking there for quite an amount of time and causing all sorts of havoc, thanks to the pigs. But that's been resolved. I don't think we have any issues there anymore. But I do note that we talked about the noise brief is considering mitigation options such as a noise barrier. Quite frankly, why obviously I want to see that study. I think we do need a barrier there, regardless of that. And I'm wondering if we can actually insist on it at this point, that it needs to be added in, and that needs to be properly looked at as a condition of the approval this evening. So just open that. That's I think those are all my comments, but Sean and Matthew, if you have anything on that, on the noise issue in particular, that's the one area I'm most concerned about, because I don't want to cause any grief for the residents there.
Certainly.
Matthew, would you like to respond?
Certainly. So through you, Madam Chair, we did indicate that we will require a noise barrier against those residential properties. The developer said that was fine, and why we worded it the way we did is that we don't want to specify the exact noise barrier. It will be a noise wall or a barrier, but we need the expertise to be able to determine exactly what that looks like. And so that's why it was worded the way it was, but absolutely the intention, and we can absolutely amend that to say that it will be a noise barrier of a wall to be determined exactly by the study recommendations.
Yeah, if I may add, Madam Chair, just if we could tweak 5 to indicate exactly what Mr. Armstrong mentioned, I think that would clear things up, because I don't think we want to leave the impression with the residents that this may happen or may not, when we're clearly intending that it will happen in some form. That would be my
Okay.
only suggestion, and it would be just completely in accordance with Mr. Armstrong's wording just now. I think that captures it perfectly.
Lindsay, that's doable.
Sorry, so we have a mover and a seconder for the motion. We can make an amendment to item 5 if the mayor's wanting to make that amendment to the motion.
Sorry, I was muted there for a moment. Apologies. I would ask Jim if he made that motion, I believe, if he's willing to entertain that as a friendly amendment on 5 and just tweak the initial. If he's comfortable with it, I'm certainly comfortable with seconding again. Just save the amendment process.
Sorry, I've lost my internet and I'm back now. I don't know if I missed anything that needs action on my part, Chair.
What you may have missed, Jim, is Mayor Todd is proposing that number 5 actually includes the wording of a noise barrier in its in the recommendation. And so I believe now, Lindsay, you correct me if I'm wrong, that in order to do so, he is asking if you're still okay to move that recommendation with that amendment.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I have no issue with the noise barrier at all. There are a couple of, and I'm not sure, there are a couple other avenues to get that implemented. I'm not sure which would be the best. There's, of course, the minor variance, which you can implement conditions on a minor variance, and the consent as well. But given that it's in front of this committee, and I assume there's a committee of adjustment for those other two functions, yeah, I think I have no problem amending that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
So just moving on to, if that's okay, settled, moving on to any other comments or questions from other. Councillor Burton has her hand up, and then Jim.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a concern about the noise barrier as well, so I'm glad that the motion is going to be amended. I am happy that they're going to hopefully do the walkway from Fishel Drive to the Prescott Center Drive. I think that's important because it also makes that path accessible too. So if it's paved, then it's better for accessibility. I did like the fact too, as well, that they're looking at planting some trees and some landscape. So I think that would help with the noise barrier as well. And other than that, I am good with the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I certainly glad to see the application come forward. Glad to see, I think the report was pretty thorough as well. A lot of some issues there, and they're being addressed through site plan, other avenues to address them through the variance and consent, as I mentioned. I live on Mackenzie, so I'm glad to see that walkway formalized. I'm also glad to hear there's going to be some bollards there to limit it to emergency vehicles only. I didn't think I saw that on the site plan, so that's one comment I'll make. I may have missed it, but to me, that's if they're going to be bollards, perhaps they should be on the site plan. And from the mayor's comments, I just have a couple of questions. The walkway, I'm assuming, is private property, and Prescott Center, I wasn't around when that was developed, and I'm not over there when any town plows go down there. So is that Prescott Center Drive? Is that public road plowed by and maintained by the town? Or is that part of the shopping center owned by Canadian Tire, Independent, et cetera?
So the roadway up to the edge of the grocery store parking lot is maintained by the town, and which would be inclusive of that particular walkway as well.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So other than that, I have no other comments, Chair. I guess on the site plan, someone can confirm that there are bollards on there. And if they aren't, perhaps they should be put on.
So in terms of the bollards, it would be put on town property. And so absolutely, we will make sure that they're added to that site plan.
No, thank you, Chair. I have no further questions.
Thank you. I have a question, and perhaps I should know this, but I don't. On page 35, Matthew, and it says, it makes reference to normal interested third parties were also contacted for feedback. To date, no comments have been received. So who would be an example of a normal third party?
So in this particular situation, obviously MTO is involved due to proximity. They have a separate process that they go through, as well as if it was applicable to any conservation authority, that sort of thing, then we would send it to those as well. I believe it was also sent to the utility companies and for their comment, and no comments or concerns. So there's a list of third-party individuals that we send our applications to, and they're instructed to let us know if they have any concerns by a specific date.
Okay, thank you. That's interesting. And because the recommendation really does try to address any potential neighborhood concerns like noise, like light pollution, that kind of thing, is that in hopes of preempting any kind of negative feedback from the neighbors, or have we already heard from some having concerns?
So very much when we're putting commercial against a residential neighborhood, there's certain things that both the zoning bylaw as well as the official plan require us to consider. So those are really what you're seeing here this evening. Angela was able to provide some guidance and expertise on exactly what we should consider, and noise and light being two significant ones. The distance between those residential lots are certainly another one, that we try to achieve through both of those documents. So but those were obviously, we have received some inquiries as to the tomorrow night's meeting, and it falls along those lines. How are we dealing with light? How are we dealing with sound? Have we done the necessary studies, things like that? And certainly that's what we're required to follow, and why we would address it the way we have in the conditions.
Okay, thank you. And if all goes as planned and no issues with any of the like tomorrow evening, for instance, or here tonight, have they suggested any kind of timeline for when this build will happen?
I believe they're intending on to have it start and finish in 2022.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
And I believe but again, I only have the 9 squares showing. I believe Angela is in attendance to this meeting.
She is, to answer any technical questions there might be.
Wonderful. If Angela, if you have anything you do want to add, you're very welcome to do so now if you like. If not, that's wonderful too.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or Mayor Todd?
Yeah, just a real quick one, Madam.
Oh, you just went off. You went on mute.
Apologies again.
Okay.
Your finger tonight. Just on looking at the map on 34, it's quite clear from where the Dollarama will be located. If you look at the lines there, we've had issues. I mean, this wouldn't address that full section to the north, but we have had, a certain number of issues with that berm along the north with residents at different times in the past. It started to grow up more now, but I just want to take a moment to thank the residents that have done some work on their own there to improve that berm and really kind of step in where there were some issues between, I believe, the town and the developer when this first went in, and not to pass on any blame there, but that was a bit of a sensitive issue. So I am looking at this just personally. This is a way we can hopefully really rectify some of those issues. And if there's anything else that comes out of a dialogue with neighbors, I'd be certainly, just speaking purely for myself here, I'd be definitely willing to entertain other options and there as well to improve that whole area and make it as workable as possible, because we do have residential abutting commercial quite closely. And as we do see more growth in this area, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that there's the potential for further growth in that region as well. So, we want to work with the neighbors there. And I just want to let anyone know that is watching tonight or paying attention that, from my perspective, we're absolutely want to deal with any issues that come up and be proactive, not just reactive. So I think there's some good things that could come of this in the end to rectify all those lingering issues and basically clean the whole site up. Councilor Burton did make reference to the pathway, and I think Jim did as well. That's going to clean that area up. It's going to look better. It's going to be more accessible. A lot of people walk through there now. You see people all the time that cut across to the grocery store. So I think this is a good opportunity to make the whole area that much better for the residents and also for the commercial stores. So we can turn this into a win-win, I think, and I hope there's good constructive dialogue about this coming out of this meeting and tomorrow night's meeting as well. Thank you.
Great. Okay, if we can take a vote then, all in favor of this report? Thank you. Wonderful. Moving on to 5.4, and it's report 22/2021, sign bylaw variance application under section 3.6 of the Town of Prescott sign bylaw 2016-16. Recommendation reads that the Planning Advisory Committee receive PAC Report 22/2021 on the file number SBV 2021-02 and approve the variance requested by the sign bylaw 2019-16 with the following conditions: that the applicant shall obtain all permits and submit payment for said permits. The second thing, that the signs be installed as per the design submitted and inspected by the town in a timely manner. Sean, this has to do, your report indicates that it has to do with Burger King. If you'd like to discuss it and just provide the highlights, that'd be wonderful at this point. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, as you mentioned, this is the Burger King, of course, which has been in the town for, probably decades now. And it is at the corner of Irvine and Edward Street. Much like many of the other fast food restaurants in the area, they are updating their drive-through, and part of that update includes putting in a video medium media type signboard. The nice thing is it is only one signboard that's going to be the video. It's going back in basically the same location where the current sign is. It is not having any effect on any residential neighborhood. Like there's no residential in that neighborhood, so that's a good thing. And so the staff is requesting that the sign bylaw be approved, as this is a great location to have one, because it will not have any effect on traffic out on the street or residents in behind. And that's where we are with that. So that's the extent of my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Questions for or concerns for Sean? Councilor Burton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will move that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Looking
And
for a seconder.
And thank you, Jim, to second that. And thank you, Leanne. Any other questions or comments about this application?
I have no concerns with the application, and
Perfect.
this is a great way to upgrade.
It is yeah, another example, as Sean mentioned, they've been around in the town of Prescott forever, and it's nice just to see them continuing to just maintain and invest in their location with us. Okay, with that being the case, all in favor? Thank you. Moving along to the, because we had a couple of CIP applications, CIP financial report was submitted with the agenda. And I have to say, I just enjoyed looking at that. there it is, last night, because it really reflects what we have been talking about, and what Leanne mentioned earlier this evening, is how much we have been investing into the town, you know, contrary to what some people might think. Town of Prescott does invest in their businesses. So does anybody have any questions or comments about that financial report for Matthew? Mayor Todd?
Just a quick one to Mr. Armstrong. What is the process for looking at the CIP? I mean, I know there's a public portion to that, is there not? And it's a bit of a lengthier process. Is this something we can bring back to council? It's really not entirely a subject for tonight, although obviously this committee is very much interested and invested in the success of the program. But Matt, any comment on when we can take a look at some of this? And I think it's been a little while since we've done a more extensive review. It's been a couple of years.
Yep, absolutely. And so I think Dana and myself can both say that we would love to be able to revisit this with both committee and council. And so we have a number of thoughts and ideas that we've developed over the last 3 years while we've been going through each of the applications. And what we would like to do is we can send out in the new year, both to planning advisory and to council, the exact process that we need to go through in order to contemplate them, and then we can get the ball rolling. So I see this as being, if we have it accomplished by by June of 2022, then I think that would be a really great win, if not sooner, depending on how things move forward.
What's the public process for that? Excuse me, Madam Chair, just one more follow-up. The public process is involved in that as well. Isn't that is it 30 days, 45 days, or?
I can't quite remember. There is a public meeting requirement that has a certain number of days before. There is no appeal period. But yeah, I think once there's a few things that we have to do in order to develop the recommendations, then submit it to the public for comment, open house, and then back to for contemplation. So it's a bit of a process, but certainly not insurmountable, and I think it's good timing based on what we've learned so far.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And just echo the other comments, how successful this program has been. We've never done more as a municipality to invest back into the community and to spark commercial growth, and it's been very successful. I forget what the core numbers at a date now, but Dana provided that number of months ago that was quite spectacular, and what we've invested in, what the return on investment has been. So it's been a huge hit so far, and I think you can always make anything a little better. So good to take a look at it. But boy, this has been successful, and the only thing I would say is we need to trumpet this more and more, because Teresa mentioned it. There's a certain amount of negativity. We have lost a couple of we didn't lose one. Pet Value just relocated and actually expanded, but they're not on King Street anymore. And you do get a certain amount of negativity about the downtown at times, yet we do have tremendous development happening pretty much all over the place. COVID just kind of set us back a little bit, but the more we can get this out there and trumpet these successes, I think the better we'll be, and we'll spark even more interest in the program. But great stuff. Thanks a lot for this update, and look forward to taking a good look at this in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Dana just had her hand up, and then Leanne.
Yeah, just quickly to build on the mayor's comment, I just wanted to confirm that with tonight's approvals, we've exceeded $10 million. We're now at $10,041,000 in total investment into the community. So that is a significant amount of investment that's happened as a direct result of the CIP program.
To me, that's a press release all by itself.
Yes.
We really should
Absolutely.
get something out
Yeah.
right at the start of the year. That's a really important number, and more coverage we can get on it, the more I think we'll draw people into the town and more investment. Thanks, Dana.
Well, Mayor Todd, I mean, not to throw something on Dana's plate, but perhaps we could have that as staff direction to have a media release, in the first couple of weeks of January as a year in the review type of thing, if you're comfortable with that, Dana.
Yeah, I think that would be fantastic. We were already planning on taking a bit of an annual review, preparing a report for council purposes, but I think a bit of a, some public relations on the CIP program itself would be excellent. I'm in full support of that suggestion.
Wonderful. So if that could be recorded, Lindsay, as staff direction, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Councillor Burton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to echo what everybody's saying about the CIP program. It just shows that we have good champions in our corner, and that is our staff. Our staff is out there and they're walking the streets and they're talking to people and they're getting people to come to our town to invest. And that is super important. So cheers to our town staff, and thank you very much for your continued support in our community. And I wish you all the best and Merry Christmas.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments regarding the CIP or any other? Oh, do I have, I'm missing something. Oh, the next agenda or new business. No? Anyway, before I will call for a mover to adjourn, I too want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. And it's 2022 has to be a better year. It just has to be.
Don't jinx us. don't say that yet.
Did you see that thing on social media? 2022. Like,
Yeah, just sounds like
I didn't like
2020
seeing that.
part 2, basically. Yeah.
Yes.
Exciting
Yeah.
stuff.
So yeah, we're not doing that. But anyway, a very Merry Christmas, and to anybody out there watching us, Happy New Year to you guys as well. And that's it for me. Anybody else would like to move to adjourn? Wonderful. Brett, seconded by Jim. Thank you very much. All in favor? And thank you to everybody. Awkward time of the day, but very much appreciated. Take care.
Merry Christmas, folks. Enjoy the holidays.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry